Thanks for the introduction, Eric, and thanks everyone for coming out here today. It's my pleasure to present. As he said, my name is Doug McDonald. I'm Vice President and Director of Almadex Minerals. Obviously, we will be making forward-looking statements here, so please bear that in mind as the presentation goes on. In short, we got 10 minutes, so I really want to try to encapsulate very quickly what we see the Almadex Advantage as being. We've got a long track record of discovery. This company went public in 1986. It was actually formed in 1981, and we have an asset portfolio that really reflects those years in the marketplace. What's been driving our existence, though, for the past 15 years or so has been that we have gotten into a new district in Mexico. It's never really been explored by anyone else, and we are the first movers there, and we've managed to put together a vast number of prospects, some of which, a significant number of which have turned into strong discoveries. Our financial situation is as of June 30th of this year. We had cash of about $3.5 million, and due to some legacy transactions that we've been involved in over the course of our existence, a little over, or almost 1,600 ounces of gold and a little over $1 million worth of equities. As to the asset portfolio, I'll get to that in a minute. But first, I'd be doing a disservice if I didn't dwell for a little bit on our background. As I mentioned, we went public in 1986. The chairman, Dwayne Poliquin, is a geological engineer, as is Morgan, his son. Dwayne had been in Mexico in the 1970s, loved the geology, didn't like so much the jurisdiction. There were restrictions on foreign ownership at the time, which were lifted in 1992. So in 92, we headed straight down there and obviously got busy first in the Sierra Madres in western Mexico, but very soon after that started, because our essence is prospecting, our instinct is to go to places that haven't been tested. So we were drawn to eastern Mexico, and starting in 95 and onwards, we engaged in a generative program down there. Ultimately, and to date, that generative program has produced 3 discoveries: Caballo Blanco, which is now owned by Candelaria Mining. Almadex holds a 1.5% royalty on that. Ixtaca, which is held in our sister company in Puebla State. It's a little over 4 million ounces of gold equivalent resource. It's going through the feasibility study now. And most recently, El Cobre. Back in 2015, a significant corporate event, we recognized that the Ixtaca project had solid legs underneath it and could sustain its own corporate entity, and hence we left Ixtaca in Almaden and spun everything out, all the legacy, all the intellectual property of the knowledge of eastern Mexico, all of it came into Almadex. So Almadex today consists of royalties, prospects stretching from Northwest Territories down to Nevada and down through Mexico as well. Along and throughout our life cycle, we've always wrestled with how best to provide value to shareholders. For a great deal of time, we figured the best way to do that was to follow the prospect generator model. After all, we generate all kinds of prospects, and we felt the risk-reward relationship was best balanced by finding joint venture and option partners. While that helped to reduce the risk, it didn't help us out so much on the reward side of the equation. What we found was that, in fact, we are the most committed to our projects, and we think that we're actually best placed to make discoveries. So that made us ponder, well, how do you reduce the risk? And obviously, you reduce the risk by reducing the cost of exploration. We own our own drills. We own 6 drills. We've trained up Mexican staff. This is largely courtesy of the Ixtaca discovery. We had the need for drilling and therefore could justify buying drills. We drill for probably less than a third of market rates now, and therefore drilling has become a prospecting tool for us. We don't spend a lot of time talking about geophysical anomalies. We like to get drills on things and test them quickly. I see we're having some trouble with that graphic, but I'll talk you through what you'd have on the right-hand side there would be a map of North America, which shows some of our projects, the 100% owned ones, the royalties, and the option and joint venture ones. But the real reason the slide is here to explain to you why we went to eastern Mexico in the first place. And the reason is simple. Geology doesn't stop at borders. And we spent a lot of time in Nevada. Dwayne Poliquin, his first company, actually was based on the Santa Fe deposit in western Nevada. And it occurred to them that the basis of the Nevada gold rush and silver rush was western Nevada. It's what drew people. It's much like the California gold rush as well. That was the excitement back in the 1800s. You had things like the Comstock Lode. But ultimately, as the generations passed, it was eastern Nevada and even as far east as places like Utah that gave us the elephants of the Carlin Trend, Bingham Canyon, and that sort of thing. the thinking was that, well, when Mexico opened up, obviously people came down to the Sierra Madres in western Mexico. They'd been mining there since pre-Columbian times, and obviously since then. That was the natural place to go, but we felt no one had really paid any attention to eastern Mexico. And Morgan ultimately completed his PhD on the area. We've done all the age determinations. We know the fingerprints to look for, and in our opinion, we hold the best ones in our portfolio. But as Eric mentioned, what's been driving excitement in Almadex recently is the El Cobre project. This map doesn't do the infrastructure side of things any good service, because we're actually located about 200 meters above sea level. There's a power plant about 10 kilometers to the northeast. Pan American Highway is just to the east, and we're about 60 kilometers from Veracruz, which is the largest container port in Mexico. It had been joint ventured out to different groups 4 times. We clawed back 100% ownership of this project back in 2012, and so we're got a running start here because a lot of data had been generated by our prior partners. Happily, with some of the first holes we drilled in August of last year, we were able to demonstrate that this project has potential for high grade. It's a gold-rich copper porphyry deposits. These are the monsters of the mining world. At least they have the potential to be that way. Examples of a couple intersections we've made: over half a kilometer of 0.9 grams gold and 0.3% copper, 115 meters of 1.23 grams gold, and 0.48% copper. These are in the Norte zone that Eric alluded to. Now we're taking a closer look at the target-rich environment here at El Cobre. And you see far in the north there is the Norte zone, where we've been having great success with some drilling. But that's a 4-kilometer strike from the Norte zone all the way down to the Encinal zone in the southeast. There are 4 outcropping porphyry centers here. We're just in the very early days of exploring this project, and happily we've met with success already in Norte. However, if you look at that, and if you look carefully, you'll see that it's actually not the best target on the basis of the geophysics. Neither the IP nor the MAG are the best at the Norte, nor are the geochem anomalies, the copper and gold in soils. Those elements would guide us to the Villarrica zone, where back in April of this year we announced the discovery of the Rea Tembrillo zone, which is outcropping gold-rich porphyry material. 18 samples averaged about 1.5 grams per ton gold. We believe any copper that may have been there has been leached out. We've got a drill on there now. We're drilling, have been doing so for around 4 weeks or so. And as Eric said, we're, like many others, very eager to see the assay results come back from the lab, but they're taking some time to be processed. For any geologists that may be in the room, this is a picture of some rocks, so that'll make you happy. But the real purpose of this slide is the table on the bottom right there to point out, listen, we got probably 20 or so holes into Norte now. We're hitting significant grades and significant widths. This is exactly the type of thing you want to find. It's exactly what we hoped we would find when we got into it. And bear in mind, this is the first of several targets here on this project. So why do I say these are good grades? Well, what we've got here is a table that compares the grades of existing deposits with some of the grades that we've intersected in our holes to date. The blue diamonds represent deposits, the grades of deposits. You see gold is on the X and copper on the Y-axis. And the bubbles there, numbered 1 through 12, which correspond to the table, show you what the grades are in these drill holes. So you can see, listen, grade-wise, we're clearly in the zone. Some are way out there in terms of high grade. Some are lower grade, but certainly in the zone. And when you consider the infrastructure and other elements of this project, I would argue that the threshold for economic mineralization here is lower than in many other places in the world. This is, again, right at the top of that slide is where we're drilling in the Norte zone. A kilometer south of that, a spectacular IP anomaly. Kilometer south, another kilometer down, another, that IP anomaly continues. 700 meters further down, that anomaly continues. By the way, there's coincidental, very spectacular geochemistry anomalies as well, 0.2% copper, 0.6 grams gold. So this is a project that has not benefited from the level of exploration that is really warranted. A couple examples of the option properties we have. Willow is owned by Abacus Metals and Minerals. They're up in Nevada. We're carried through to feasibility there. Los Venados is a project in the Mulatos district, borders the Mulatos mine near the La India project. We vended that out to a company called Wolverine Minerals. Here's our share chart. As I mentioned, we spun out in August of 2015. Then we made the El Cobre discovery. We're hopeful that being in a new district and being the first mover, it's the first of several to come. Dwayne and Morgan are significant shareholders in the company, and the board is well known and respected for their geological insight. And just to leave you with what we are, you know, the most important aspect of this little pyramid here is the bottom one, the project generation team. Our ideas never stop. We have a fully integrated Mexican team. We own our drills, we own our IP equipment, we can get things done very quickly. Strong working capital position between our cash, our gold bullion, and our equities. We have numerous royalties. I haven't touched on those, but we have a 2% royalty on the Ixtaca project, 1.5% on the Caballo Blanco project, in total about 17 royalties. We were the first mover in eastern Mexico. Of the 7 projects that have been tested either by ourselves or JV partners, 3 discoveries have now been made. When you get into a new terrain, it's a target-rich environment. You can really do big things. But from those early-stage projects, the most recent to emerge is El Cobre. It's a world-class thumbprint in terms of its, you know, the targets that exist, and we've demonstrated it's got some real meat on the bones there at Norte, and we're excited to see what else may exist. So that's the end of my talk. Happy to talk with anyone at the booth there, and I'll be there all afternoon as well. So thanks for listening.